19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 point. Happy Earthspin. This video comes with parental advisory of a third eye of Horus, awareness. Provide a link to that later. Hello world, greetings to everyone on your unique path. I'm not here to convince anybody in anything, just sharing information, most up-to-date information I have at hand. And today's going to be an intense day. Yeah, could be a long one. Lots of information. Day 19. Day 19. Wow. Day 19. So, day 19, I've already talked about how I switched the 11 and the 19. Sometimes it's the 8 and the 11 major Arcana cards that are switched. Galactic Tarot, number 8 is Justice, number 11 is Sunspots, or the Sun, and number 19 is Strength. Which in here is actually number 8, which sort of completes the circuit really, of 3 being moved around. So Justice becomes 8, the Sun is 11, and Strength becomes 19. Today, in the Galactic time device, blue electric eagle. Ooh, it's an eagle day. I activate in order to create. Bonding mind. I seal the output of vision with the electric tone of service. I am guided by the power of self-generation. Which is actually interesting, because this is my own kin signature is also guided by power of self-generation, which is the storm, which is tribe number 19. And so it is. so it is. Blessed be. Number 19. Number 19. 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19. Yeah. Number 19, eh? $19,000 years of peace, 19 with more zeros. Obviously, I spoke yesterday about the whole thing of needing more zeros. And obviously, the more zeros you have, obviously, far more important. So obviously, I've got more zeros. See? 19,000. Yeah. But it's a fractal. It's all based off of 19. So, that's what I was describing. It's a fractal cover, 19 and 33 over a 19,000 year period. Rounded upwards, it almost approaches 20,000. You can see that on the episode 14 with the celestial DNA time spiral. So 19. Well, so much about 19 in here. This is a good one. On page 37. So that's the number 19 from 3 different perspectives. From a pattern perspective, a matrix perspective, and a geometry perspective. These three here. Pattern, matrix, geometry. Which is the foundation. It's the flower of life and time. Flower of life and time. Which is basically, this whole book is based on the flower of life and time, basically. Let's see. It's that page. So all of these, every single column going down here, and all of these, every one of these. They're all 19 years apart, and that's the snapshot of the 20,000 years spreadsheet. Nice little crystalline blessing, activating the matrix just before I was publishing the book and preparing the draft in 2015, and finally having the photographic edition in 2016. Here's an original slide from some of my presentations I was doing in the early 2000s. So 19 year lunar solar, here it is a time wave. And as I mentioned in my book many times, and I have here the appendices, these are all places where you can find flower of life iconography. So there's many places where this geometry is found, which is what I'm saying, it's the magic of our ancestors. And yeah, our ancestors, as in the whole planet. Here's the other appendix. So this is all the various calendars which exhibit the 19-year pattern. So it most certainly is a planetary gnosis. The Gregorian calendar is definitely from the Italian peninsula. Flower Life and Time, though, yeah, that's from the world. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's the most natural time system foundation. Yep. Yeah, what is that quarantine grid? Well, it's really a consciousness threshold. It's a consciousness threshold, so, you know, it's up to us. We can transcend anytime we want through awareness. Yeah, as a planet. Yeah. Planetary gnosis, planetary remembrance, in honor of the ancestors, in remembrance of the ancestors, honouring their magic and their wisdom, and also honouring ourselves, because then we acknowledge our own wisdom too, and then the ancient and the modern become one, which is truly why the ice wizard is here. Ice core wizard. Ooh. Yeah. Here's a fractal matrix of the 19. So each of those little circles is 19. So 19 times 1,000 makes 19,000. So there's 19 times 1,000 little circles on here. So that's a bit from my book. Obviously that's the point of today, is tying it all together and connecting it with many other research too. Yeah. So, bit of a recap. The last few episodes we've had is Pan, it's not the devil. It's the thunderstruck tower. That was the one to do with the volcanoes, cosmic rays. The moon, 18-year cycles, and here we have number 19, strength. Are we there yet? Almost. Right, I better wipe the board. See you in a wee while. Back in a second. It's blue day, so I got my blue pen. So there we have some of the key aspects we're going to be discussing today, and also my own aspect, which I'm just going to share with you now. A bit more of my Ra's scribblings. This one's quite special to me, and this is yeah. Could well just be a theory. Could well just be a theory, sure. But the maths is adding up, so it feels the appropriate time to share with you this. And basically what we have here is a bunch of maths, and the symbol in the middle is what I've termed Slipstream. Just zoom in that for a second. So, Psirus Slipstream. Here's a bit more information about it there. So it's this whole concept that which way to entropy. Because the numbers that are adding up to me say when we switch to 391, the year actually gets longer again. That's what the numbers say. It's already in my book, and it's not that bizarre concept when you think about here. We're literally just talking about a difference of, what's it say? Yeah, 1.5 minutes. But a different celestial harmonic nonetheless. So this is part of my my new research, and that's what I've put on the board here, trying to explain the shift, and you know, what happens to linear time then, one wonders. And there have been many different various lengths of the year that have been measured throughout history. And they don't just go down. Yeah, in the historical records it's not just that they go down. The measurements that were taken, it's like sometimes they go down and they get a bit longer again, and shorter, longer, and shorter. And obviously people usually just put that down to, you know, other errors on either side of the true length, which they say they know. That's one explanation. Another one is actually that the year length changes and actually increases and decreases. And we live in a fractal matrix, and we're probably going to be learning a lot more about that, hopefully soon. Especially today. Yeah. Wow. So in the middle I've drawn a glyph for the barycenter, which is to do with the sun and its position in the solar system, whether it stays right in the center or whether it's slightly off the exact center, which some of the research talks about. I think that's actually from THEODOR Landstreit, which is episode 7. The book in there, I'm pretty sure, is one of the books that talks about the barycenter. If not, I'm pretty sure you'll find other information online about barycenter, and I'll show you images about that in a second. So here's some of my own notes here for today. And yeah, today is about all the cycles combining, basically the 0 point. So, you know, recently we had the end of the long count in 2012, which begs the question, how many long count in an interglacial? Tomorrow we'll be talking about that. The Holocene period, talk about that tomorrow. Milankovitch cycles, episode 4, 5, 8. And 10. Gas giant cycles, that's episode 7. Grand solar minimum today. Warming and cooling periods, episode 14. End of empires. Volcanoes, famines and droughts, well, that's episode 16. Episode 13. Greenland ice cores, that's episode 14. 372, 391 fluctuation, episode 14. Beyond the Pillars of Hercules, yeah, episode 14. Triangle from Maya and Comet, And this relates to tarot. These codes must be from Atlantis. I mean, how old are these codes? So today's strengths, and you know, we got the sign of the 3 black hole suns. Yeah, there's many different signs. And here another one I was writing other notes, and I'm talking about this card also represents potential cycles that we've not heard of before. So, you know, I'm not trying to say that this Galactic Tarot system, our major Arcana system, is all of the cycles. I'm just laying foundations for the future of my own work, my own research, trying to fit all the pieces together. But this card also represents that as well, the idea that through studying the different cycles, you can then find out when those cycles combine and what other cycles we might not be aware of. We might find evidence of them in other cycles, because they usually have a bit of, you know, interaction with each other, because we live in a fractal, it's not a linear construct. That's today's symbol. So, I'd just like to take this opportunity to mention that in my philosophy, the invisible realms are just as intricate as the physical, and that's, you know, including realms that we usually use microscopes, telescopes, or yeah, psychic awareness, consciousness. All these realms, they're just as intricate as the physical one that you can see with your eyes. So we live in a multi-dimensional universe. That's why all these cycles are important. Yep. It goes back a long time. Yeah. This knowledge goes back a long time. I'll just give you some examples of that now from an old book I have here, talking about this original scroll, the weights and measures recorded by Enoch, was used for programming previous cycles of intelligence. But it was lost to the knowledge of man after the energies of spiritual destruction inhabited and controlled the earth, desiring to use these spiritual truths with their technology of death. So that's from an ancient book, or at least a modern ancient book. And this is an ancient timeless scroll, and this is the missing golden thread, which I found recently. So that's the missing golden thread. If you ever thought you maybe lost it, it's alright. You haven't lost it. It's right here. Look. See? No, none of us have lost it. It's all fine. Look. It's right here. The golden thread. So Also from the beginning you remembered this. Yeah? You see this here? This is a mirror image of my codes, the 372, 391. What's that here? Yeah? That's a stupa. It's a stupa. That's a stupa there, representing different levels of awareness. Om Mani Padme Hum. From the Egyptian, you have the raising of the Jed pillar. As above, so below. So, have we covered all of these here? You know, it's about natural cycles, the book that wrote itself. Yeah, that's when I started to realise it was connected to the tarot. I've definitely been talking about natural cycles. The hidden message in ice, well, that's Greenland. The real green piece, well, yeah, that's the future is about no pollution, zero pollution. Unbeknownst to them, yeah, well, you know, they're not really sharing this information freely. We're not really having a proper debate about it because there's a lot of closed minds. Lured into a false sense of security, yeah, well, you know, is nature that stable? I mean, you know, is it the economy that runs everything? People in charge, are they really in charge? They tell us they're there to, you know, security, yeah, protect us, yeah. Lost codes from Atlantis, I think we covered that. Galactic Tarot, Major Arcana set, how many long count, interglacial, that's tomorrow. Fluctuation in eclipse sequencing length trigger climate trends, well, that's episode 14. Signal of the 3 black hole suns, episode 14. Is winter coming? Yeah. Well, we're talking about that today because on the board is mini ice age. Is CO2 both sin and God? No, I think CO2 is pretty natural actually. I think being really egotistical is pretty, you could say. Actually, these words are so misunderstood really. I mean, sin, well, sin is God of the moon. Yeah. So, is CO2 both God and God? Well, obviously CO2 is God then. But it is part of nature, you know. In breath, out breath. There is always more than 2 sides to every story. Arcturian intelligence. Yeah, that's why it's 4-star. Yes? Why it's 4-star. Yeah, because we need to look at it from at least 4 different perspectives. Which are clear perspectives. Not this muddying of, oh, I'm sort of like you and sort of like that. No, no, no. No, clear perspectives. Ragnarok, when the wolf ate the sun. Ancient mythology. It went to 5 degree last interglacial. Yeah, very important piece of information. Delays and reactions in the climate curves. Yeah, that could be that just like in summer, it stays warmer till almost September because the year has built up heat. So it's got a momentum of heat which continues, which we could be in right now. That could be where we are. What happens if the sun goes into hibernation during a grand solar minimum? Well, that's today. Do glaciers melt faster when there's more ice to melt? Volcanoes under the ice? Well, these are questions to be answered. If there's more massive ice, will there be more melt? If there's volcanoes underneath, wow. Yeah. Okay. So the question is then, am I stupid? Well, this is a stupor. I'm definitely not stupid, but I do like stupors. You know, you have to at least laugh at yourself. At least once a day. Really. I do. I mean, look at this information. You know? Right, back in a second with a projector. And we're back. Alright. So I was mentioning before, third eye of Horus. So this is the graphic about that. Should be familiar with my website now if you wish to find the page called Third Eye of Horus. From the home page, you need to navigate to Fractal Contents, and then Infinity Codes Archive, which is down and to the right, and then Solar Codes, and then scroll down, and then underneath Diamond Matrix you should see this graphic, Third Eye of Horus. There's lots of information on that page, and there's links within that page, things like ancient cosmology, which brings together many of the different codes together, and that connects with chapter 6 of my book, Ancient Cosmology. But this graphic is about the third eye of Horus, which is there at the top there, and that's the blend of the two eyes into singular eye. And to me it's always looked like a UFO landing. So the blending of left and right, sun and moon, alchemy, pretty much we've been covering all of that. So that's what this symbol represents, is the coming together of all the different codes. It's a great symbol for today. Yeah, I thought it was worthwhile sharing. This graphic here is from THEODOR Landsright's book, and you can download that in the link in the description of episode 7. And this is the image on page 44, and it's to do with the sun's center of mass, position, center of the solar system, which I feel connects quite strongly with this one, because it's to do with fluctuations, to do with the length of the year, and it is a fractal, so it's all connected. So there's probably some mathematical formula that would connect research of THEODOR and myself. Still looking for more codes, obviously, and these things are all worth bearing in mind if you want to try and understand everything, what's going on and why, from fractal level, so fractal maths. So we're talking about the barycenter before on the whiteboard, and then I've described my Psirus Slipstream, which is fluctuations in the length of the year, and is exhibited by that difference of 372, 391, and it's measured by eclipses. So it's the reoccurrence of phenomena, not just the spring equinox year or a particular equinox solstice year measurement from Earth. It's a solar system measurement specific to our orbit, so Earth, Moon, Sun, which is that simple again, is the Alchemy. So, what do we have next then? Right, well then, this is where things get interesting, because we're talking about latest research. I mentioned Dr. ZHARKOVA's research. You can find links to that online on YouTube, which is talking about these maps of solar minimums and maximums, which have occurred in the past, and in the historical record you can find these things, mini ice ages, definite drops in temperature, and she's mapped it all out again. A different sort of level of mapping it, but there is a close relationship with THEODOR's work, what I've been uncovering, which is really all magic of our ancestors, really. Modern science matching up with the wisdom of our ancestors. So, these are the ones which are termed you have maximas and minimas. So there's a minima approaching. This is 20. Well, that's 2100 here. So 2030, 2040, 2050. I mean, some people say, you know, it's going to start fairly soon, you know, it could be 2020. That's why we need to get into maths precise, and why there should be a bit more discussion about it, so we can get into maths more precise, and so we can understand how it's mapped, what are the data points that produce the map, and how do all of these maps fit together. So that's an interesting one. I'll just zoom in on that for a bit. And here it says Little Ice Age down there. There's one there. There's someone's graphic trying to describe these sunspot cycles and the modern minima. Again, these are graphs to try and describe the phenomena, and based off of the historical records, these sorts of things can occur. So we should be made aware of them, and that's the point of these presentations, is to make us aware of a potential mini ice age. Yeah. Books have been written about it. Let's see. Yeah, here's one here. Frozen Britain by Gavin Cook. Gavin Cook. Frozen Britain. Okay. I found my copy of that in a second-hand shop. And another one. Here someone's mapped out even further, going back to the beginning of Western civilization's records of sunspots. As mentioned in episode 11, the Chinese have much older records, and they've even termed the modern minimum as the eddy minimum. So, you know, these dips, you know, these dips have different lengths and size of dip, and you know, essentially bigger the dip, more of a temperature drop. So again, it's information contradicting the current consensus global warming, and yeah, to listen to both sides of the conversation is important. Yeah, especially when there's certain information like this coming out. And there's many different maths all fitting together, which is how I'm even standing here presenting this. You know, piecing together these bits of pieces of this puzzle. You know, I mean, with number 19, the strength, imagine if you have 19 different separate cycles all aligning at the same time. You know, it's definitely global reset. You know, it's definitely global reset, but it's you know, it's been guided by nature. So nature has cycles, and we're human beings on planet Earth. I think it's important for us to be aware of these cycles. I think it's important for us to be aware of all of the research, all of it, from all angles, all different points of view. You know, I don't think that's too much to ask. So that's why I'm presenting this information. It's I think it's personally pretty profound, really. You know? You know? Yeah, at the beginning, do you remember I was talking about this one. Remember with the Zodiac and how it matches up with the fingers and stuff and the Holocene. So I'll be revealing this part tomorrow, because that's the Holocene measurements of the long count specifics. Is episode 20. But at the beginning as well, I didn't want to reveal too much because I didn't understand it all to begin with. So I wanted to, you know, give a bit more of a wider view, so we could kind of learn to swim in the information a bit more first. Because it's necessary to have a bigger picture, to have a fractal perspective. You have to take all these different bits of information together. Yeah. Right. So exactly what usually people go into is this terminology of one of the cards I didn't include at the beginning, because you know, there's always this level of intensity. How do we know how intense it's going to be? And then people talk about extinction level events, you know, and basically, yeah, all cycles combining. But you know, is it a conspiracy? You know, this whole doomsday stuff. So many times people, oh, something's going to happen, then nothing happens. You know, so I mean, but it's still a potential. You know. An extinction event means, yeah, a lot of people could actually die. Yeah, if we're not aware of what's going to happen, lots of people could die. Loads of people are already dying on our planet. You know, I mean, first thing comes to mind, I'm just thinking Middle East, and then you think Palestine. You know, I mean, look how hard it is to deal with this issue. And imagine if we have an even bigger one than that as a planet. How are we going to cope? You know? I think that's something that needs to be contemplated. And we all need to talk about this far more. I was reading Graham's book, Magicians of the Gods again. And I'm pretty sure he'll be okay with me reading a paragraph out of his book. I have it earmarked here. So if you have Magicians of the Gods, it's on page 126, and it's talking about it's talking about at the beginning of the Holocene. So, you know, as the evidence is mounting up of us approaching the end, what about the beginning? Because it gives us an idea of certain climatic conditions. So here, he's talking about temperatures rose in less than a decade at the climate transition, marking the end of the Younger Dryas cold interval and the beginning of the warmer Holocene epoch at 11,600 years before the present. In less than 20 years, the climate in the North Atlantic region turned into a milder and less stormy region as a consequence of a rapid retreat of sea ice cover. A warming of 7 degrees centigrade was completed in about 50 years. So I have this literally earmarked in here for extinction level event. Yeah, the strength card. So, yeah, reading books helps. It helps to have a bigger picture of things. You know, this is essentially what this period here over here is, yeah. Which a lot of the evidence is saying we're approaching. So it could start 2020 and then build up 2030, 40, 50, 60, 70. Maybe it won't be till 2030. Maybe it won't. Maybe they got the numbers wrong. Maybe all the numbers are wrong. Maybe the entire thing is just humans thinking that they can understand anything. You know, maybe everything, you know, I've made it's all just computers, you know. Well, how can we know anything is true? Well, that's the point. The point is to do the research, figure out the numbers, add it up properly, make tables and graphs, share your knowledge with other people, talk to them, figure out what they're saying, see how it matches up, get all numbers right even more, and really get numbers right, and get the numbers right so much that you're capable of presenting it in a holistic form to the world. So I'm not here to convince you of anything, I'm just sharing information. You know, today I've shared much information from different origins, trying to piece together a complete picture. Because nature rules. So, you know, if 2012 was the end of the long count, in my book it's 2034 is the midpoint of the 3 black hole suns, which is just a terminology, is a meaning of total solar eclipse on the spring equinox. It's just a terminology for that phenomenon. That's 2034. There's a channel on YouTube called Mini Ice Age Conversations, hosted by David Dubine, and he talks about lots of different levels of this stuff. There's Ice Age Farmer. He's got loads of content talking about this kind of stuff. They're all worth listening to if you're interested in understanding it from many different perspectives. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, not just them. You know, see what traditional science is saying, see what the ancestors are saying. You know, listen to everybody. That's what a, you know, proper talking circle. You know, I've got the stick at the moment. Yeah, see, I'm holding the talking stick. There we go. So, what would happen if blessings of peace in memory of all the fallen in all wars. My purpose is peace. Peace through knowledge of our ancestors and the alchemy of that with modern science. All kinds of potentials could happen. There's definitely there's some sort of chasm. You know, there's some sort of chasm in the modern media complex, internet complex, newspaper complex, you know, official perspective universities. You know, I'm not saying everybody's completely clueless, but you know, there's different, you know, there's always, you know, little snippets here, little snippets there, but it's not enough. For this sort of level of understanding needs fractal consciousness. That is why I am gifting this to everyone. I'm sharing it. I'm trying to share all the maths so we can add all up from different levels and get it right. Really precise. You know, like we have a test. You know, we get 108% on the test. That means, you know, not only did we get all the answers right, but because we get 100% of the answers right, we can then find out another 8 answers because of getting the 100 right. So we actually evolve science in the process. Yeah, it's profound moment. For me, it's a profound moment. Flower Life and Time, 1919, 1919, 1919, 1919, 1919, 1919. Makes complete sense to me. We should be prepared for all eventualities. You know, that's why I put the warning at the beginning. You know, we should definitely be far more caring towards our species. It's going to make the whole concept of war incredibly stupid. Definitely need to probably be growing more food everywhere. And, you know, yeah, making all the houses far more airtight, you know, don't lose all the warmth, you know, learn how to be self-reliant, maybe learn how to be off-grid, you know, learn better to work in a community. Yeah, I mean, we've got food towers, there's all kinds of technology now to help us. Technology that humans have come up with. Yeah, that's because the imagination, the magician, going back to the magician, and so it is. End in the beginning, beginning in the end. Roboros. Thus spake Ouroboros. Beginning in the end in the beginning. Yeah. The full circle complete. It's not just a circle though, it's a fractal. It's fractal mathematics. Yes. Fractal mathematics. And, you know, don't forget a hologram. You know, we've got a hologram. Got holographic knowledge now. Yeah, we've got the maths. We've got the computers. We can all add up perfectly, yeah. Yeah, but we need to realize the nature rules. So, most likely, yeah, it's a realm shift. So it's a realm shift, but it's not like you know, we're going to some other dimension. No, we're becoming more real in the reality that we already exist, which is the connection of the ancient and the modern, which is magic. It is. It's magic, because that's what science is. First time you see some, you know, crazy new bit of technology, how does it work? It looks like magic. Yeah, without knowing how it works, it seems like magic, but it's science. You know, but science isn't something new. Science is like the scientific method. Yeah, you bang a nail. You know, you bang a nail, you get it right. You know, if you miss and you hit your thumb, ow, you got it wrong. You know, it's experiment. That's what science is. That's how I've come up with my maths. That's how all these other researchers have come up with their maths. So, together, we can come up with the answers. And that's the point, we already have the answers, as I mentioned yesterday. So, really, it's, you know, how we get the answers to everything as quickly as possible. I think basically it'd be good to chat about it more. Obviously, I intend to compress all my videos into, you know, even snippets of videos, bits of different ones, and then make it into a single one. And then hopefully as well do a bit of collaboration, maybe try and make one massive video with other researchers, and piece it all together. Yep, gotta get 108% on the test. That's what the message of today is. That is the Arcturian intelligence. Is 108. Yeah. In lak'ech, we are one. Still here. It's bonus time. Just contemplating, searching around for maybe any extra images, sharing. So these are dinosaurs here. So you got dinosaur 1 and dinosaur 2. And you have ancient scavengers, and then this dude. And they're talking about the future. And number one is saying it gets warmer, it gets cooler. There is nothing to worry about. Number 2 is saying all your CO2 emissions are causing it to happen. Stop it right now. These scavengers here, number 3, is actually more complicated than that. We're due a mini ice age, and 20% of the population could die off. And then this geezer here, number 4, it depends on how steep that curve upwards is. If it goes vertical, then that means it's time for the next glacial, and there are over 7 billion humans now. So that's talking about spikes in temperature. These spikes occur, and there's been many of these spikes already. You know, spikes, let's see if I can find spikes images. Yeah, but that's actually the information I'll be covering tomorrow. I can't cover everything in every episode. It's way too much information to cover. And that's one of those things, you know, it's like we're not experiencing a physical flood at the moment, but we're certainly experiencing a flood of information. And that's why Arcturians make codes. And that's why Arcturian intelligence is about looking at it from more than 2 sides of the story. That's just one way of wording it, but I'm just giving you as an example. So there we go. There we go. Blessed be. May peace and love prevail. May our planet communicate and listen to all sides of the story, get the maths right, figure out what's happening, make a list of solutions, implement the solutions, and transcend the ego, and learn about the ancestral wisdom, how it matches up with the modern science, which basically brings honour to us all, brings honour to everybody. And figure out which bits of information aren't correct, because they don't have the full story and all the information at hand. So that is what this is dedicated to, which is truth. So, well, I should be. See you tomorrow for episode 20. Wow. Nice.